We're going to go over a few things before we get started. Number 1, you are going to ignore the color of my hands. I self-tanned for the first time in a very long time because I am translucent and my hands are very orange, so we're going to ignore that. Number 2, I haven't washed my hair in well over a week. It has been in 2 braids for like 4 days. I let it out and we're just going to pretend it doesn't look like this. We're just gonna pretend. Number 3, Nar's in here and we're gonna leave him in here because I love Nar and I love when he's in my videos because he's too cute. I know. So we're gonna leave Nar in the room with us. So he's just gonna be a guest feature, a guest star, as they say. I don't know what I'm saying. No, not the carpet, not the carpet. But hey y'all, I am back and today I have more Let's Not Meet stories that I'm very nervous to read today. Very nervous. Oh my god, I also wanted to say, sorry, I'm gonna ramble a little bit at the beginning of this. I have to go to the doctor tomorrow for the first time in like years, I think. I've had this issue. If you have edamamatophobia, I don't know what the fuck it's called. I don't know how to say it. If you have the fear of throwing up, probably don't listen to this part. I'm not gonna like talk about my throw up in detail. But I've been nauseous for like a month and I have been throwing up nonstop for like the last week. I'm not pregnant. I know what you're thinking. I'm not pregnant. I took a pregnancy test. I'm not pregnant. But I have been very sick for like a month now and I don't know what it is. I cannot keep food down. So I have to go to the doctor. Oh my god, I don't want to go to the doctor. I don't want to go to the doctor at all. It's like my worst fear. I hate the doctor and I'm gonna have to get blood drawn probably. And I just can't handle that. I just can't handle getting blood drawn. I can't do it. But that's my spiel. Spiel? That's my spiel. Now we're gonna get started because this first story says, let's not meet creepy ex-stalker. Hi. Just to preface this entire thing, I wanted to say that I'm English, so I'm sorry if anything I say doesn't make much sense. I know us Brits can have some strange ways of saying things. Additionally, a trigger warning. Sexual assault/rape mention. It's not too detailed, but I'd rather give the small opportunity to pass by my post even if a small mention of the topic is too much. Stay safe and take care of yourselves. There's only one you after all. Nevertheless, I'll tell you my stalker story. It's not incredibly long, both in writing and in my experience, but it was a terrifying experience nonetheless, which has left me with trauma that has gone ignored until recently, hence why I'm able to type it right now. It took place around the age of 17, which is now a good few years ago. I just turned 23. I had never really had a relationship and it never really crossed my mind. I wasn't like most people my age and relationships and closeness freaked me out. Plus, being single was fine. I remember that at the time I was working for a pretty big clothing brand shop in a local business park. I'd started when I was 16. Most of the people were lovely and made me feel safe, which is the only saving grace during this experience. One particular shift, I see a guy wearing a military uniform and at the time I was debating the idea of joining myself and he caught my eye. I did my usual thing of walking up and asking if he needed any help. I worked the suit section of the men's department, and he apparently needed some help finding a suit for something. I offered my help and we got talking. By the end of it, I mentioned that I was interested in joining the military and asked if he'd mind if we met up to talk about his experiences while serving, etc. I was looking forward to actually having someone to talk to, other than my dad who's a veteran, about something I was interested in having a career in. We exchanged numbers and messaged for a couple of days and sorted out a date. Now, this may be my ADHD brain, but when he said date, I thought he meant like the date, as in the day we would meet, not a date. But things like that go over my head sometimes. I couldn't even tell he was flirting with me at first, and he did take my overly friendly attitude as flirting too, which I can firmly assure you was not the case at all. I was simply doing my job. Oh well, I thought, at the time, so what? Maybe that's not what I'd wanted in the beginning, but what could go wrong? Just one date with a guy wouldn't hurt, and I ended up looking at it in the same vein. Oh boy, was I wrong. So we went on a date to a coffee shop where 2 of my best friends worked at the time. I mainly did this because they were the type of friends that would have stepped up to help me if I was truly in a crisis. It went like any typical shoddy first date. He was boring, avoided questions about the military, and only kept making comments about me and how I looked. For example, I would ask him where he did his basic training and where he was currently based, what regiment he was in. He could never answer in detail and, as I said earlier, I knew enough for my dad to find this weird. He also commented, "I can see you wore skinny jeans for me," accompanied by perv eyes and everything. To say the least, I spotted red flags and was feeling very uncomfortable. Maybe it was just first date jitters. So I kind of pushed aside the little gnawing feeling for the time being and we ended up going for a walk. It was here that, when we were out of sight of other walkers, he started kissing me without any indication of whether I wanted to or not. At first, I let it happen because I thought this is what happens on first dates. But after a bit, I pushed him away. He did this 3 times along the walk, kissing me even though I tried to duck away or push him. I was extremely thin and weak at this point due to mental health and an eating disorder, so I wouldn't have been able to fight him off even if I wanted to. He then proceeded to ask me, "Are you into having sex?" Boy, what? What the f did you just ask me? I almost choked on my own spit, and I just wanted the ground to swallow me whole and take me far away from the situation. I just nervously laughed and said, "No, I'd rather wait until marriage." It was a bit of a cop-out because my true feelings around the topic weren't something I wanted to discuss with him. I would like to add that I mean no disrespect to people who truly wish to do that, but I panicked in the moment and it was the first thing that came to mind that would softly get him to stop talking about it and end the conversation. Here comes the worst part. In response to what I said, he proceeded to look at me up and down, bite his lip, and say, "Well, I don't think I'll be able to help myself." Excuse the f*** out of me? As of now writing this, my current self is sat with pursed lips, shaking my head, muttering, "No, no, no." Yuck, right? Anyways, my brain went ding ding, time to leave. I genuinely feared that I would be raped because of how forward he had already been with me and how he was being with me now. I was alone with a guy bigger and stronger than me, on a path that barely anyone was on, and I was frightened. I did the only thing I knew how to do, and that was act. I pretended I got a phone call, and I must have been convincing enough to have him drop me off at home immediately. Nara's messing with a balloon, so you're gonna hear it in the background. I can't get him to stop. I've tried to get him to stop, but he won't. I might have to kick him out, but I'm gonna let him play with the balloon for a little bit. At the time, my sister, who was autistic and often wanted to see me after her operation, was in the hospital recovering after hip surgery. I hate to say it like this, but I used her being in the hospital to get away from the guy. Although as soon as I got home, I asked my dad if he could take me straight to the hospital where I could see my sister and my mom. I feel like utter shit for using her as an excuse, and I regret that part to this day. I do wish that I had used something else. Anyway, the day was done. I started to distance myself from the guy over message, and eventually I had a breakdown on my dad. I told him that I wasn't interested in the guy and I didn't know how to tell him to leave me alone. I left out what happened on the date. He helped me write out a text to the guy saying I wasn't interested and that I wouldn't like to continue further contact. The guy got pissed, started trying to guilt trip me. I ignored him. I blocked his number, his Snap, made sure he couldn't find me on social media. I didn't want to see, speak, or hear him because I was scared. Remember, I was young, so even though it may seem like I took it out of proportion, my teen brain had never experienced something like this before, and it panicked me. I don't think you're taking it out of proportion, like, at all. I think that everything you're doing is completely justified. This is where the stalking started. He would go to the coffee shop and sit in there for hours waiting for me to enter. I stopped going. He trailed all the places I would walk from work, sixth form, and other places. He would come into the shop that I worked, and I would have to run into the back to get away from him and hide. All this happened to the point that I broke down at work and then got told that maybe I should leave because my attitude was affecting my work. I know. Shit. Needless to say, I was terrified. He did this for 4 months straight until he got to his next victim. And victim is the right word to use because I found out in January of this year that he had been arrested for fraud and sent to prison for 2 years. The woman he dated after me was his fraud victim. He would ask her for money to complete police training, which isn't true at all, and I should know as half my family are police. He pretended to be in the military police when he had never served in the army. I think he served in the Navy, but barely. I may be wrong, but I'm also pretty certain he pretended to have been caught in an explosion while serving. Overall, he defrauded this poor woman and her family of around 20,000 euros. I'm not sure what that would be in dollars. I'm sorry, I have no idea. Probably around the same thing. Yeah, anyways, creepy stalker man that's now in jail. Let's not meet again. Please and thank you. TLDR, date went wrong and I got stalked by a now convicted fraudster. P.S. I'm really sorry this ended up being a lot longer than I intended. It's okay. I like the longer stories. I find them fascinating, and I like when you guys add as much detail as you possibly can. Those are my favorite stories to read. But that was really long. I've been reading for like 15 minutes. That was a long story. Maybe I just messed up a lot. I don't know. But this felt like a long story. But this next one says, I nearly got kidnapped in the middle of the day. Hey everyone, before I tell you the story, I just want to let you know that I'm okay. A little backstory. I'm a 5'3", smallish ginger 24-year-old girl, but I look about 12. Like I get ID'd for energy drinks, which in England, ID is needed under 16. This happened like a year and a half ago. I teach special educational needs kids online and in person, normally in a library or if I've known the client for a while, in their homes. I am also autistic. This is relevant because if I'm not tuned in, I can't read facial expressions and it takes me a moment to boot up. At this point, I was not tuned in because I didn't feel like I needed to be in this area. So I was walking home from meeting a student at the library. It was maybe a 30-minute walk from my house and I took this route frequently. A little less frequently since the pandemic. I pretty much always walked across the football field, which is not secluded. It's right next to a main road and surrounded by fancy family houses. There are some trees, but not enough to cover anyone doing anything sus. Basically, I didn't feel like I needed to be on super high alert. I was just unusual alert because that's what it's like being a gal/small person. As I cut across the field, I saw a large Alsatian, very cute and friendly dog run off the lead towards me to get his ball. I don't know what that is, I don't know how to say that, but it's a dog, I don't know what it looks like, I have no idea. The dog tries bringing the ball to me, so I shout to the owner to see if it's okay for me to pet the dog. The human shouts, yeah, he's good, and I pet the dog and then throw the ball for him. His recall is awesome, and when the human calls him back, I can tell the dog is really well trained. The man approaches me when the dog runs back to him, presumably to retrieve his dog, and I keep walking. The dog walks alongside me, so I slow down and pet his head until the human comes so the dog doesn't follow me home. I politely ask the dog's name and age, just the usual crap you chat to dog owners when you have to speak to them. This is when I wasn't hugely tuned into facial expressions but started booting since this dude was approaching me. Once Doggo was safely tethered on the lead, I tried to shut down the conversation, being like, "Awesome, well it was nice to meet this little dude," but he wouldn't take it. Not at all. He kept talking and was getting really chummy and telling me how pretty and smart I was. How it's so impressive I'm so young and teaching children already. Since I had mentioned my partner, her, was waiting for me, he was like, "Oh, you're really pretty for a lesbian." Yeah, for a lesbian. I was like, "Lad, I really need to get out of here because this is homophobic and really weird." Anyways, we spoke shit for a while I tried to find a safe way out. Then he asked what I did. I said I teach English, which is true, but I didn't give any more details. He said, "Oh, can I get your number because I have 2 young kids and English is our second language." I was like, "No, I don't give my number to random people, but you can apply for a tutor using the website." I gave him the generic website for the nationwide company I subcontract for. The website wouldn't have given him any details about me unless he was randomly matched with me as a tutor, which we wouldn't because I don't teach English as a second language. He kept trying to get my number and was like, "Well, sure, don't give them the commission and stuff." I was like, "I don't mind giving it to them because they get me clients." Eventually I decided to agree to give him my number, obviously gave him a fake one, don't worry lads. He was like, "Great, do you have pen and paper?" So obviously I did. I teach children. I said I have a pen but not paper because getting paper would have meant me pulling out my notebook, which had not only my full name but also the name of my student I was just working with. I knew I couldn't risk sharing mine and a minor's name. He said he had paper in the car, so he was trying to get me to come to his car to write down my number. Eventually I found a scrap piece of paper like a receipt or something in my bag and wrote down a random number on it and handed it to him. I didn't give him my name either. I gave a nickname version of my name, and I have a weird name, so there's no way he would get the spelling right, even if he did figure it out. He starts trying to nudge me in the right direction towards his car, trying to get me to come. I couldn't actually see a car where he was pointing, but then an older man and woman walked behind us walking their dog, and I said hello as if I knew them. They thankfully replied and asked how I was, and I made polite conversation. I think this freaked him out, and he paused. In the gap, I said, "Look, it's been great meeting your dog, but I really need to get back to work. Bye." And I walked in the opposite direction to my house and then cut through a side street to my house so I could make sure he didn't follow me. I also rang my partner on the way home and told her everything. So, subtle man with a dog, let's not meet. Nar is attacking me! These are the kinds of stories where, like, you don't know what his intentions were. Like, maybe he did have young children, maybe he really did need your help. Like, what if it really wasn't anything bad? But at the same time, I would be this person and I would assume everything he's doing was to, like, kidnap me. I would be on your side. I am on your side. I would be terrified for, like, almost no reason. Because it could be something completely innocent, but like you don't know. You never know. Okay, and I have 2 more stories that I'm gonna read. They're pretty short, so this video won't be like super long. But this next story says, "Neighbor lady with a key to my house and grinning man at my window." I have 2 creepy let's not meet stories that have made me paranoid to be home alone. They're a bit long, but worth it. They're not that long. While I was in elementary school, my mom and I lived in a duplex building on the 1st floor. One day my mom was outside our house cleaning and had our sliding glass door open to get back into the house since the main door was locked and our garage was closed. I went over to the sliding door and me being a dumb kid decided to shut the glass door from the outside to see if it would open from the outside. It didn't open from the outside, and when my mom realized what happened, she panicked. We had no way back inside. We would need to call someone or try to figure out another way in. We stood outside for about 10 minutes trying to figure out what to do. One of our neighbors had seen us trying to get back in and came over to talk to us. We explained to her what happened and she told us to follow her. We weren't particularly close with her, we would occasionally chat. She went inside her house and got something and came back with a huge ring of keys. My mom and I looked at each other like, why the hell does this lady have so many keys? The lady explained to us that the keys unlocked almost every house in the neighborhood. She unlocked our door for us and we thanked her. Before she went inside, she told us not to tell anyone that she had these and to keep it a secret. That lady was not the landlord and was not in charge of anything in the neighborhood. We moved a year after that but never told anyone and acted like it didn't happen. So lady who has a key to my house, let's not meet again, and I hope they've changed the locks in the neighborhood. My second story is shorter but still creepy. When I was in elementary school, I would stay home alone because my mom and grandma would be at work. My grandma and mom lived right next to each other but did not have keys to each other's houses. My mom and grandma usually got home around 5:15 to 5:30, so I was home alone for 2 hours after school. One day it was around 5:15 and I heard knocking on my window downstairs. I assumed it was my grandma because she would always knock on the window to let me know that she was back from work. I ran downstairs and before opening the door, I looked out the window because I was really paranoid as a child. When I looked out the window, there was a man crouched down, grinning at me. I instantly darted upstairs and hid in my bedroom. I saw through the bedroom window he had left and walked to the other houses. I assumed he was trying to sell something and brushed it off and didn't tell my mom. What's even creepier though is that we had a no solicitor sign by our door and he did not ring the doorbell. We have one of those ring doorbells where if you ring it, it starts to record you, so I can assume he didn't want to ring it to not be caught on camera. to the grinning man at my window, let's not meet again. See, those were pretty short, but I thought they were creepy. Like, I don't understand why that lady has a key to your home and you guys just like were okay with it. You were just okay with it? You didn't like say anything? You didn't change the locks? I'd be like, this is not okay. You do not, why do you have a key to my home? How did she get all those keys? How did she get a key to everybody's house? And the grinning man at the window, that's just like my worst fear. Like every time my doorbell rings, I go and I check the peephole, and if there's somebody standing outside, I do not open the door. I don't care who it is or what they're here for. I do not open the door. So that's creepy. I don't like that. Okay, and this is the last one I'm gonna read. It says, the creepy guy that filmed me while I was diving. Hi, my name is Maddie. I have a few creepy stories, but I'll start with this one. When I was in high school, I was a competitive diver. I dove year-round, even in the winter. Every year in January, our usual pool that we practiced at would close for 2 weeks for maintenance, so we had to practice at another pool in a pretty sketchy area. The pool was surrounded by a metal fence with gaps in it, so people driving or walking past the pool could still see inside. One day when I was about 16, my team and I were practicing at the sketchy pool. As I was diving, I suddenly had an uneasy feeling. I looked over at the fence and noticed a man standing there holding something up in between the metal bars of the fence. It took me a second, but I realized the man was holding a camera, and it was pointed straight at the diving boards, where my teammates and I were practicing. I immediately told my coach that we were being filmed. She just glanced at the guy and told me that he probably wasn't filming and that we would be fine. I knew there was no other reason this guy would be standing by a pool with a camera, so I insisted that my coach tell him to leave. I told her I wasn't going to get out of the pool until the man was gone, and I told my teammates to do the same. Once my coach realized that we were actually really freaked out by this man, she walked over to him and told him that he needed to leave. It took some convincing, but he finally left and we didn't have to call the police. I always felt so paranoid diving at that pool after that day. So creepy guy that was filming my teammates and I while we were diving, let's not ever meet again. I wanted to read that because that made me so uncomfortable. That story made me so uncomfortable. Like, why are you filming literal children diving? What? Like, it's disgusting. It's so weird. It's so, oh God. I hate that story. But that is all I'm gonna read for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other stories that you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit linked down below. Not the email. We're done with the email. I'm about to delete it off my phone because I'm getting so spammed. Send it to the subreddit. Please make a Reddit account. It takes 5 seconds. Submit it to the subreddit and I will read your story on my channel. I promise. It's a promise. I was going through my paranormal stories and I have so many right now. It's ridiculous. So I might do 2 paranormal story videos back to back, just because I have so many of them, if you guys are interested in that, or I could just like separate them again, but I feel like I could do like a two-parter, because I have so many of them, so I feel like I need to get more of those stories out, because every time I make a video, I get more stories, so I feel like I have so many, I should make 2 videos. I don't know, that's what my brain is thinking. So I might do 2 paranormal stories, like this week, and then 1 next week, but we'll see how we feel. We'll see how we feel. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna go. I love you. I will see you in the next one. Do I have stains? I don't think I have stains. Okay, I don't have stains. Okay, bye. Also, look how cool my shirt is. Ages for Halloween. I got this at Spirit Halloween. I got 2 t-shirts from Spirit. They had so many. They had so many t-shirts. I was so tempted to buy more, but they're like $25 each. So I was like, no, we're gonna stick with like 2. I spent like $50 on 2 t-shirts. Like, what? Oh, what? Nar, you're so cute. No, you're the cutest. Meow. 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 Okay, I'm gonna go. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just talking to my cat. Okay. Oh, my brother's picture fell. My brother's picture of him and my mom fell. I'll fix that. I'll fix that right up for you. Okay, I'm gonna go. See ya.